It's time for some great short track racing at Sunset Speedway in Innisfil, Ontario. Get ready for some heart-pounding action with their highly competitive hot rod division, featuring also bone stocks, modifieds, junior late models, super stocks, my personal favorite, the mini stocks, and pro late models. Don't miss out on their yearly classics, including the Hanley Classic, the Steve Slaughter Classic, Allen Lincoln Cup, and many more exciting events. We want to see more of those cool power drag races. Visit sunsetspeedway.ca for ticket information and head to the track for an unforgettable racing experience. Looking to level up your race car's look in 2025? Well, look no further than Imagewraps.ca. The team of Craig and Doug Hamrath specializes in creating amazing, detailed, and creative graphic designs and wraps that are sure to turn heads at the racetrack. As huge supporters of motorsports, Imagewraps.ca understands the importance of having eye-catching and unique designs to stand out from the competition while showcasing your amazing partners. Trust us for the best deals and quality in the business to give your ride that winning edge. You have to visit imagewraps.ca today and let them take your racing experience to the next level.
Machines and the thrill we find. KMK and Braden taking the reins. Grit and glory racing through the veins. Stickers and scuffs revving in high. Motors roaring, the sparks will fly. Talking to legends, stories unfold. The need for speed never gets old. Never gets old. Engines scream as the questions roll, chasing the edge with a heart of coal. From the asphalt kings to the dirt track dust, racers unite in the name of trust. Stickers and scuffs revving in high, motors roaring, the sparks will fly. Talking to legends.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Stickers and Scuffs podcast for the final recorded episode of our show. So next time when our guest Coleridge Phinnemore joins us, he's going to be live on the show because we're only doing live shows in the future. So this is good practice for you, Coleridge, that you don't have an audience to start with, just these two schmucks over here. But our finale for Sunset Speedway month, and one of our favorite guys to watch out there, man, because he makes it fun. And Coleridge, it's been a little bit of a weird start this year for you. It's not really been, I think, at the same level as you were last year to start the year, but you're back out there. How have things been? How's the car running for you? First off, it is probably one of the most beautiful mini stocks in the field, probably in the province. I may have seen it before you actually released it because Craig Hamrath likes to send me good-looking race cars. But how has it been so far, buddy?
It's been a rocky start to the year. After the big hit at Autumn Colors there at the end of the year, blowing the right front, hitting the outside wall, it takes a lot to get the cars back to where they need to be. They're not meant to be banged up that way. So the first few nights have been a bit rocky, but Saturday night seemed to be a positive outcome.
Yeah, I was talking with I was at Peterborough this weekend, and Kyle McCauley, who was also in the wall with you, just by circumstance, it just happened to be where he was on the outside when it happened. He's in the same boat, trying to fix his car up. And these things, people I think forget they're mini stocks, but they're still not cheap, no. Right? I mean, you go from a championship contender last year, you ended your season in that big wreck. This year, you had a couple of issues with the motor as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we blew a head gasket a couple weeks ago, unfortunately, the Allen Lincoln night, where we went out for probably 3 laps in practice, and the car just started to overheat. Luckily enough, I turned it off before I noticed anything, but the pistons were filling with water, so it was a good thing we shut it down when we did.
Now, I want to clarify, is this cold Burroughs's old mini stock?
No,
No.
so this is Kevin Bridges' car, old car.
Oh,
So Kevin Bridge had this car for about uh I want to say in 2017, 16, 17, somewhere in there. He ran a Sauble a bunch of times. More of a traveling car. I don't think he ever ran a championship with it. And then the car traveled to Peterborough, and Corey Strawn picked it up, rebuilt the whole thing from top to bottom. And then COVID hit,
hmm.
and then the car sat. And I don't know if he went in a financial crisis or what happened, but he ended up selling it to his friend, and his friend never raced it. So it sat up in a heated garage up in French River. So, and as soon as it came for sale, I knew I had to get it.
It worked out for you too. Now you are having because you what was the car that you previously were driving? What make was that?
I
Was it
had a 91 Civic hatchback.
91 Civic?
Yeah.
Now you and I had this conversation at Sunset. It made its way back out onto the racetrack this year.
Yep. Yeah. The guy bought it at the beginning of the year just before opening night and has rebuilt it and has brought it to the track. So it's good to see more cars out there for sure.
Especially your own previous ones. I mean, because it didn't really change at all.
Nope.
It looks kind of the exact same. So it's kind of like you're following yourself out on the racetrack there. But we're not the only Phinnemore that races out at Sunset Speedway. So how did this whole Phinnemore racing deal start? Like,
Well, you can go back 40 plus years. My grandfather is it's probably 42 years now that he's been racing. And I think he's done pretty much everything. Done late models, done open wheel modifieds. He's done pretty much everything. I think the only thing he hasn't done is probably legends and midgets are the only two things. And big guys like us, it's hard to get in those small cars.
yeah, you guys are tall fellas, so
Yeah.
it would be a bit of a difficult thing to do. And when did you get involved in motorsports?
So I've always kind of been around the track. So my grandfather started racing back in the day. My uncle followed in his steps. My dad also ran a few seasons at Sunset. And then my cousin started, Chandler. He started racing younger than I was. So it was kind of a deal with my parents that I couldn't get a car until I was done school.
Hmm.
So
Oh,
it was
interesting.
kind of you have to do school and you pretty much have to pay for it yourself. It's on your own cost. So I finished college in 2020, 21. Sorry, I finished 21. We went to Autumn Colors in 21, and Jason White had my Civic for sale, or his Civic for sale at the time, but soon to be mine. So pretty much we went to Autumn Colors and said, if this car makes it through the feature in one piece, we'll buy it from you. And it did. And that's kind of how we got into racing.
So it's really recent, actually. You haven't been in it for that long.
Nope. This would be my fourth year this year.
And for a guy like me who I guess dabbles in it at best, but seeing how like you've gotten into it, you have cars with lineage to them, and it's as something that Cam and I say, every bit of short track racing is an education beyond just the driving part of it. You learn what to look for in a race car. You learn what, in the event of downtime, what keeps you down the least amount of time, like in terms of parts availability and stuff like that. There's just so much that comes with the package of short track racing that it goes so far beyond just driving. And I know for myself that in the last year or two, I've had a wealth of education and just getting brought up to speed and that sort of thing. But just there's so many moving parts to it, Cole. It's just for people who just think that we want everybody to get into racing for sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's not something that you just want to like throw yourself into without a bit of basic knowledge to it, because there has to be just that, some basic knowledge to the moving parts of a car, and as the business part of it.
Yeah, like mechanically wise, like you just gotta know how to change rotors, change brakes, right? Like I found ever since I hit the wall at Autumn Colors, I've been cracking my right front rims, so I have
Hmm.
to know how to change those rims weekly now,
Yep.
uh, or at least just inspection wise. Like you got to be able to go around and know what you're looking for, right? You don't want to lose bolt somewhere because that could be the difference between you hitting the outside wall and you finishing a race. Like we're running so fast in these cars. They're not just regular street cars anymore. They're full fabricated bodies now. Like it's unreal the level that we are at. Like we're running times that 10 years ago people would have never thought minis would have been running. So you
Love it.
gotta just understand the whole working components of a car because those are the things that are gonna cost you in a race.
And
So
that's a great point too. It like from the nut and bolt check, from the safety aspect, which is something that we definitely need to beat the drum of, is just with with every tenth you gain. I mean, that's a little bit faster, which means you're going a little bit harder, and I mean the crash is a little bit more severe potentially. That safety is the utmost importance. So those nut and bolt checks count for a lot. With I know, speaking from the bone stock potential this year right out of the box, a lot of us at Sabo are running the pace of what the fastest car was running last year, and that's just from one off season. Nobody turned a lap in those several months, and everybody just comes out a little bit more prepared, a little bit more. I don't know, the car's rolling straighter, whatever it is, and everybody's
yeah,
just a little bit hungrier. That with every tenth or every hundredth that you gain, you have to be prepared for the consequences.
yeah, yeah, 100%. You gotta remember everybody is working just as hard as you are at the track every week, right?
So true.
So to
It's a
be able to
very fair
compete,
point.
so to be able to compete with the top level guys, you got to put just as much work, if not more, in if your car is not set up the right way.
That's it. And it's like
Yeah.
you think you're working your ass off, and then you probably like you don't know what buddy down the road's doing, and it's just like, man, he might be working harder than we are, or she might be working harder than we are. So like we gotta like suck it up. And that's the great unknown of racing, is when everybody's behind the closed doors of their shop doing their own thing, everybody comes out with still within tenths or hundredths of each other. And that's such a remarkable thing about our sport.
Yeah, like you're talking my division right now. I was looking at fastest lap times. Now, fastest lap times, you gotta take it easy because they don't always run that every lap. But if you look at the fastest lap time from the top 10 Saturday night at Sunset, we were 6 tenths off of each other.
Wow, eh?
Like
Jesus.
that's from first to 10th. Like this, we're out of the COVID time. We probably had the most competitive class
Yep.
this
Oh,
year for sure.
easily. That's, I mean, people ask, why is mini stocks Cam's favorite? Well, that's reason. You guys, I mean, I love bone stocks, love all the other divisions too, but just something about the mini stocks themselves, um, especially at Sunset, have been extremely close finishes. For the most part, it's been relatively clean. Yeah, you can have a couple squabbles here or there, but and it's gone through kind of a bit of a rotation every week. It's this year has been a little bit more it's been a little more dominant, I think, by a couple or trio or two or three guys that Jacob Sutcliffe, Ryder White, can never count out Doug, right?
Yeah.
Doug just shows up and wins. That's just how it works. But it's funny because you have guys that have come into it and they're not doing stuff that's idiotic, right? These cars, like you talked about, if we're gonna put this in perspective, so let's say you have every day at work, you're working whatever hours. How many hours then do you like? What is your shop kind of time for yourself every week?
It depends on the night. Like I try and have a balance between racing and working. Also, some outside hobbies. I try to have time to do that.
That's important.
I was up north last week, so I didn't have much time to work on the car last week. But just a fair amount. Like I don't need to be doing it every day. Probably should be if I'm gonna beat Doug every week. But um, A fair amount, right? Like I said, after you get through the bolt checks and all that, like when you got your car together, there's not much more you could do to it besides setup changes.
Hmm.
Right.
So Sunday is pretty much my day. I come home from the track, pull the car out, make sure everything's still good shape. I had to change the rotor yesterday. So make sure all that's done, right? All the big components. And then Friday, I'll go through another double check, make sure everything's good, and then do all my car setup Friday night.
Now, you've done you've done the trio of mini stock races. At least you've done Peterborough, you've done Flamborough, and you've done Sunset. I don't know about Full Throttle lately.
Not
No,
yet.
never. So, um, so those three, they all have different. They all do things differently as a
Yeah.
mini stock competitor. At Sunset, you have two heats and then a feature. At Flamborough, you have two features, and then at Peterborough, you have two sets of heats
Yeah.
and or sorry, I guess technically it's like yeah, you have two sets, so
Yeah.
four, and then the feature. And you race at all different tracks. So how are you able to do that? Because that's a lot of different like we've talked about we prefer everything be the same. That would
Yeah.
be great. But how do you manage that? Because that's three completely different ways of racing, is it not?
Um, yes and no. Peter, luckily enough, the two cars that I've built, or the two cars that have been built that I have purchased, have both been built for Peterborough Speedway. They haven't actually
Oh,
built
okay.
for Sunset Speedway. So if it wasn't 2 hours away from my house, I would probably run there every Saturday night, just because it is so fast and you get that extra 400 or 500 RPM. So you're just always on throttle, and it's so much fun
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
Peterborough. So then Sunset, you lose a little bit of RPM, but I still can turn crazy through the corners. So I'm able to compete there. Flamborough, I haven't figured out yet. Flamborough is still a tricky one for me because it's flatter than what I've been used to. I've always used the banking to my abilities.
There's no
So the
banking there, yeah. So,
no, they got an inside banking so that your left tire comes up off the ground.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
So
that's true.
Peterborough I love, Sunset I love, Flamborough I haven't figured out yet.
Are we going to find out whether you like Delaware? Are you going to go down for the big? No?
Unfortunately, I'm not around for that this year.
Oh, man. Because
Yeah.
I'm excited. I mean, that's I don't. I've been told they had mini stocks there like way, way in the past, but I don't know how old that would be.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to see that. I think mini stocks. Graydon's been in one. He's driven one, and it took him. It took a quick spin in. I think it was
It took me
practice.
3 quarters of the race to figure it
Yeah.
But at the end of it, he was, you were kind of around the back of the pack in a car that, that doesn't run that often. But that's again, it seems like you can get a handle on the mini stocks a little bit easier, almost. Like I'm wondering why you chose minis instead of say a bone stock to start with.
Um, I it was more of the family thing. It was
Oh,
more
okay.
being my grandfather and my cousin are both in that class, so
Mhm.
it was kind of just that's the class I wanted to be in. And the opportunity came up at the right time. The right car
That's
came up
true.
at the right time, right? So the whole situation just went together nicely. Um, but I raced ATVs before, so I had
out.
like I did ATVs from when I was like 6 to 15 or whatever. So I had lots of motorized vehicle time
Oh,
before
right on.
I got in a race car.
A
And
lot
I
harder on the knees, I would imagine, in the ATVs.
little bit, yeah. But it's the same motorsports world.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
it,
yeah.
your sponsor levels and all that type of stuff. Like you learn all that at a young age, then you
Hmm.
just carry that on through your life, right?
Well,
You
that's
do the
that's
same.
something we haven't gotten to do yet, Graydon. You got to get you to do ATV racing.
No, no, far too old for that now. But no, but as you said, like you've obviously developed the working knowledge of the racing world through that, and also just the concept of speed. I mean, it's apples to coconuts in terms of racing discipline, but it's the idea of taking something that is more or less the same as what everybody else is playing with too, and making it better than everyone else. The concept is there,
Yeah.
and that once you have, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but once you have that sort of mentality instilled in your brain that it's just like it doesn't matter what you're racing, if it is apples or it is coconuts, you're going to beat the other apple or coconut with what you got, right?
Yep. Yeah, no, 100%. Like you got to remember racing and whatever discipline you're doing is like mostly mental. Like
Yes.
it's
Yeah.
not so much physical, it's mostly mental. So to run a race, it's not only pushing your car to the limit, but you have to understand your passing spots and all that, your corners, and understand what your car is doing. And that would be the same thing for anything else anybody else does. You got to understand what your dirt bike's doing, or you got to understand what everything else is going on, right?
Yep. Yeah, 100%. And I've um this weekend I've had a little bit more of a active kind of role week to week in a race team this year than I have in years past. And this year I was withdrawn from it. And it happened to be a weekend where we got a car on the track that was really, really fast, and I'm going to drive it too. And it's just having um, people in your corner that you can lean on and talk to and just feel out the situation, whether you have boots on the ground or not. That counts for a lot too. That just, it helps you hit the ground running every week, whether you're there necessarily or not, or as you say, like racing, we want to keep it fun all the way around because people have summer commitments and that sort of thing. But it's always great when you don't really miss a beat when you're away from one week to the next.
Yeah, 100%.
Coleridge, I'd like to know a little bit about the field and mini stocks from Coleridge Phinnemore's perspective. So if we put it out there, a couple of questions like, that you could name a name type of thing. Okay, so obviously you're really tight with a lot of these racers because you're racing them. I think you guys have 12 races a year,
Close to
something
that.
to
Give
that
or take a
effect.
few.
Someone you think in the field that is extremely underrated.
Hmm. I don't know. Underrated. That's a hard one for me because a lot of people they're moving quick. They're you don't have a lot of time for underrated drivers. You look at Ryder last year; he may have been an underrated guy, but now he's won a feature this year. So
Yeah.
I can't really say him, right?
It's
I
like a
think
Ferris
Jason.
Bueller thing. Like life comes at you fast, right?
Yeah, I think underrated. Jason D'Antimo always seems to make good finishes, even if he doesn't have the best car. He can always find a way to get inside the top 10, get inside the top five some nights, right?
Mhm.
Your so if you're going to pass somebody for the win, which one is the most that you feel most accomplished being able to pass?
I'm gonna hate to say this, but Jacob Sutcliffe, and it's just it's a long history line there.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I knew him way before
Oh,
racing.
really?
Like my dad and his dad and a friend of the family, they go back racing, and I knew him way before I raced cars. So
cool.
it's a long those two, Wyatt and Jake. I've known them a long time. So
Oh man, they're a riot.
if I were to
And
pass
that
one of those two for the win, that may be
Someone
And
who's
just like a
really
sidebar from the
yeah,
rapid
yeah.
fire here, like that's pretty cool to like when you know some people that you run against that you knew them from outside of racing, where like you know kind of the people that they are and every like, and then you get into seeing them in a different kind of light where it's like the heat of battle. That's freaking badass.
yeah. Those guys are great. The whole
Yeah,
group.
they
Yeah.
sure are.
Yeah, they really are. They're a good time and um you know, it someone who you think has really improved this year.
Andrea Lusk and Burnett. I know
Yeah.
Burnett hasn't been in the car very long, but he
Yeah.
seems to be getting his feet under him very quickly in that Mustang. So
Yeah. I'll
he's
say Yeah, that's a good pair. That's a good, yeah, I
But
like
the
that one.
same with Lusk.
Absolutely.
Lusk, she was driving inside the top five yesterday. I think
Hmm.
her car kind of faded away near the end, sorry. Um, but her car kind of faded away near the end, but she was running up there with us. So
Mhm.
that's a big improvement.
Now, in terms of what you prefer, mini stocks have done two heats in the past. They've done the three races in one day, like the Lankin. You've done double features. They do the two sets of heats at Peterborough. What is it that what type of format do you prefer?
I have mixed feelings about it all.
Oh, okay.
I like the two heats and a
Yeah.
feature. I like the way Peterborough runs it. I ran for the first time this year. I ran Flamborough with the two features, and I
Yeah.
enjoyed that. I think I think those two, as long as you have the right format, I think the night moves pretty quickly.
Mhm.
Peterborough is very on time. They're very like they give you 15 minutes to your heat race, and if you're not done the 15 minutes, that's it. They throw the checker,
Yep.
right?
That's
Right.
right. Yeah.
So I like that format. I'm okay with the format we're doing currently at Sunset. The only
Hmm.
issue I have with it is that if by draw, which they've changed on Sunday, they
Hmm.
put the guys in the points in one heat, which is good.
Yes.
The problem with the points championship battle last year is let's say you put out a random draw, you put Sutcliffe or McGlashan or whoever was fourth and fifth. I think my grandfather was fourth last year. But if you put them by draw at the front of the first heat, and then you put second and third at the back of the second heat, it's hard to run through all these cars now that we're getting so much faster.
Yeah.
Right.
Like you're talking 12 cars who are running two, 3/10 off each other. You're not going to pass them in 10 laps.
That's right.
It's hard. So unless you got a dominant car, it's very difficult to do that. Right.
Yeah, and on
Doug.
the other side of
Doug.
that, when you get to the tech shed,
Well,
you got to make sure that you're like straight up
Hell,
legit too, or you get it taken.
Doug
yeah.
Butler could start three laps down and probably still win the heat. So,
Yeah. Yeah. That car's an
But it's
art.
so true. It's as you said,
yeah.
like when you have a multi-car wall, if you will, in front of you, it makes the job a whole hell of a lot harder.
Yeah, and there's got to be a respect level too, right? And I've
That's
always
right.
Absolutely.
that's kind of the way I've always driven. It's been more mental than it has been physical for me. I
Hmm.
try and race respectfully with all the drivers around the track. So I may be faster than a couple guys, but I'm not going to plow through you.
Yeah.
And and
Glad to hear
like
that.
and like you said, Cam, like these cars are not worth 4 grand anymore. Like
No.
we're building mini stocks that are 10, 15 grand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's not
Well,
cheap.
not
You
even just
can't
in the
go and just
parts now,
pound a
right?
rat out of them to get past
Yeah.
somebody.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
unfortunately, people still use race cars as weapons, and I mean it doesn't look good, especially when you have guys that should know better that do it, and you have um routinely. I mean, we'll talk about like the 95 team this year. You can't tell me that they've spent a little bit of money this year. No chance. They've had the worst luck I've ever seen a race team go through. And you know that that hurts, right? It hurts in the wall, it hurts in the pride. And at the end of the day, we're not running a NASCAR championship here where you're going to go home and take home like $4 million. No,
Yeah.
no, you'll take $350 and a smile is what you'll get, really, if that, and that won't cover the gas home, you know. But it's really nice. Yeah, we talked about you just mentioned that how close of a field you are. Perfect example, Madison 2 years ago was being lapped in heats,
Yep.
right? And now she's right up in the pack with you guys. And that's, Chris Allard comes in, Curtis Burnett comes in. They're not getting lapped. They're in the field with you guys. Like you're battling for positions. That's what's exciting about it. You could have 30 cars out there, but if 15 of them are getting lapped every 2 seconds, what fun is that,
Yeah.
right? So for yourself, you've got a lot of loyal supporters on that number 80 car. One that I really hope you're racing for wings this year because that's a promotion that we can all get behind. But let's talk about the partners that you have on your 80 car. There's a couple of good ones that I know actually Graydon Bunn is aware of. I believe one was is Burger Station, that he's very well familiar with.
Yeah. Unfortunately, they're not with me this year.
Hmm.
They're with my grandfather and my cousin. They're not on my.
Oh, so you don't get burgers, you get wings. That's
I get wings. I couldn't have them battling between each other.
what a tough life, eh? Burgers and wings, man.
Yeah, that's hard. That's a hard one.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
yeah, winging it. Alcona came on board this year. Great supporters. They just currently opened probably a year ago.
Nice.
So it was great to support more of a local community.
Yeah.
Sponsor, so to get them more people in the door. We've already taken the car over a few nights and displayed it over there, and people
That's
are
right.
recognizing that compared to Sunset. So that's good to get out there. Canadian Tire Newmarket came on this year, so
Nice.
it was great to have them. They're good. My grandfather, I still have Mikey's on the car, so the Mikey's Foundation, he's doing great things with that, right? And we try to support when we can.
Yep.
I have Flashover Windows, who is family. TKO Renovations, they do renovations in Aurelia. So if you have any renovations, call them. Lake House Property Management, great friend of mine, Jim Godfrey. He helps out at the track almost every week, so I really appreciate him. Industrial Automated Systems, they're a great sponsor, another friend of the family that goes way back. He's a Mustang guy, so it's hard sometimes. But and then Image Wraps, they did a great job on my car. That's actually a throwback to my dad's Monte Carlo he had years and years ago.
Nice.
So they did a great job when they rolled that thing out last year. That was an awesome surprise. And that's mainly my big sponsor. You guys, you're supporting me this year. I really appreciate you guys and everything you do for the whole community. Just allows people to not only know a car, but know the driver in the car, right?
That's what we're all about.
It's a big deal when you get noticed walking around compared to just your car, right?
Yeah, I think it goes tenfold actually. That goes the same for us. I think we're kind of seeing that now, and it's kind of crazy. I don't want to cause a rift or anything like that, but I will say that you guys all have some of the best looking race cars, because my screensaver happens to be Chandler's car this year. We changed it. It was the 80. It was the 80 in a group of mini stocks, because as we know, that's Cam K's favorite. Goals for the rest of the year, Coleridge. Obviously, everybody wants to win a championship. Obviously, for yourself, I think keeping a motor intact is definitely up there. But what are some goals before we wrap up?
Just get better every week. I just one spot every better. I started the season 7th, and then I jumped up to 6th, and then I had a problem, and then I finished 4th this week. So as long as I just keep seeing improvements every week, that's kind of my goal. A feature would be nice anywhere. I'll take it anywhere. A heat win would be nice. I'll take that anywhere. But like I said, I know the guys who I'm competing against, and I know the work they put into it, right? They're working just as hard as I am. So yes, it's sometimes upsetting to become 3rd or 4th or like not finish, right? When you have a blown motor or something like that. But you got to look at the positives every week and take that and move on to the next week. So
that's 100% true, man. It's a bit cliche, but it's so true that we speak about it often, that it's a humbling sport, and you can ride the highs all the live long day, but you can get a quick, swift kick in the junk and bring you right back down. And it's something that, like Adam Ross has said too, to us, it's what keeps everybody coming back. It's just the allure of it, the badassery of it. It's a unique and elite club to be a part of, and I know I wouldn't trade it for anything, and I'm sure you wouldn't either.
No, nothing at all. It's peace. The 25 laps that we run every Saturday night,
yes,
my head goes into a different mode.
Yeah, everything else just fades away, right? And it's just you and the task at hand.
Yeah.
Kick as much ass as possible. I love it, man.
Yeah. Just so I don't forget, can I thank a few more people?
Yeah, of
Absolutely.
course.
Yeah, so my parents, my dad and my mom are my biggest supporters. I have my two siblings, my younger brother, my younger sister. They're at the track every week and they love it probably just as me. My grandparents, they show up and support every week. So I want to thank each and every one of them. Jim Godfrey, I already said, he's a supporter every week. He helps work on the race car. Brad, Martin, and Christina, they help every week. And Jeff and Shannon LeBlanc, they help too. They're big supporters. So I just want to thank them for everything they do. They're the reason I get to the track every week.
Awesome.
I loved it. This was a great episode. Great way to wrap up Stickers and Scuffs first generation as we move into the next generation of the show.
Yeah.
And
Gen
Coleridge,
1 in the books, eh?
yeah, right. Gen 1 in the books. We're old now. We're seasoned. So we'll be excited to go live sometime. We're not sure exactly when we're starting, but Coleridge, you'll definitely have an opportunity, and you'll definitely be on our show come when we get back going again. And best of luck for the rest of the year. And thank you for being on the show tonight.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for your time and keep doing the hard work that you guys are doing. It's really showing.
Well, that is Coleridge Phinnemore for Sunset Speedway Month here on Stickers and Scuffs.
Thank you for watching the Stickers and Scuffs podcast. Subscribe, share, and like for more Ontario motorsports content.